All right, so I saw a video today that kind of triggered me. 8-Bit Philosophy made a video about, is PC culture a good thing? And they sat on the fence so hard that fence was just fucking them right up the ass, where they both said it's both bad and good. No, PC culture is 100% bad. Firstly, freedom of speech should be protected at all costs against all foes. Okay? I don't care if you're a neo-Nazi. I don't care if you're a creationist. I don't care if you're a Muslim terrorist or whatever, as long as you're not actively threatening people or inciting people to violence, which may be a fence that Muslim terrorist is indeed writing. But if he's not, if he's just going, I want to spread my crazy Salafi Islam, I support him in that, even though I in no way support his religion. In fact, use my freedom of speech to actively attempt to undermine his religion doesn't matter. Freedom of speech is absolute and should be defended absolutely, no matter what. Because no matter how many times people try to say you have freedom of speech in Canada, or you have freedom of speech in Germany, or you have freedom of speech in the United Kingdom, you in fact do not. Because there are people you cannot criticize, and there's policies that you cannot decry, and there are words you cannot use. You are being word policed. You are suffering under the oppression of political correctness. And it is in fact removing your rights, not adding to them. Okay? The number one reason, and I basically just explained it, is that, are you familiar with the term crybullies? Political correctness is often not used in a charitable way. It's usually not being used to go, oh, look at this poor little person, we need to help them and protect them, and they shouldn't be viewed as less than other people, because most of the time, people are just trolling with their words you don't like. Okay? If I call you a faggot, guess what? I'm not a homophobe, but I'm calling you a faggot because it's a fun curse word, and it is that honestly innocent. It's because you deserve it, and there's been no shortage of comedians here, is like Louis C.K. here, to remind you that they will straight up tell you to put that dick in your mouth and stop being a faggot if you're being a faggot. And you know exactly what I mean by being a faggot, and yet I just triggered half the world right now, okay? Because I'm my homophobia. Okay, no, that's not what's going on. What's actually going on is people are using political correctness to hurt people. What is white privilege? How many times have we had to discuss this? White privilege is not used to demonstrate how blacks are disadvantaged. It's used to try to tear fucking white people down and make them feel guilty for supposedly having an advantage. Now keep in mind that this disadvantage of blacks is not demonstrated, and this advantage of whites is not demonstrated, and cannot be. Okay? You can show a trend of disadvantagement for all blacks, and you can show a trend of advantagement for all whites. However, white privilege does not account for homeless, drug-addicted, poor, completely helpless white hobos, nor does black disadvantagement account for Barack Obama. A trend is not a rule. But how is it used? Again, to hurt white people. It is not being used to help black people. Same with Black Lives Matter, where they lie in order to show that, police actively hunt and kill black people for sport. That is the narrative. That is not true. It cannot even be demonstrated that police brutality is a racial issue, because it is not. If there's any sort of privilege, and if there's any sort of unfair targeting of a demographic, it's poor people. The only kind of privilege that exists is class privilege and wealth privilege. Now, I'm about to sound like an anti-state libertarian, and I may sound like Peter Molyneux for a second, but keep in mind, I'm not these things. However, what I'm about to say is true, that when you use PC culture and enshrine that in law, all you are doing is enabling crybullies to wield the state as a weapon, okay? All you are doing is basically like what we've seen happen in Canada. We've seen it happen in the UK, that somebody can just say, hey, this person hurt my feelings, and then the state comes and ruins that person's life. Because I'm sorry, when you get in a protracted lawsuit with the fucking state, it costs a fuckload of money to defend yourself. And in the case of that one anti-feminist in Canada, the guy was legally barred from using the internet. Keep in mind, his job, his means of feeding himself was using the internet. He was legally barred from using the internet and had a gag order where he could not discuss the case with the media for 3 fucking years. And the only risk that was towards the feminist was whatever legal fees she had to use. But keep in mind, when you bring the state in, the feminist doesn't even have to pay for a lawyer. The state goes and pays lawyers to fuck with this guy. So you can wield the state as a means of violence to literally harm somebody in a very tangible way with no consequences and no risk. That is what political correctness does. When you just say, this guy violated the blasphemy law, and then you go on about your day while the state comes and fucks with that guy, and jails that guy, and fines that guy. And you know what? If you need to be at work every day and you're in jail, you lose your job, okay? And if you don't have excess spending money and you got to spend all this money on a lawyer, you fucking get your life ruined. No job, you immediately go into debt, and you're fucked. And it doesn't even matter if that crybully was lying. They get away scot-free. There is absolutely no fucking way that political correctness is good in any fucking way. It is cut and dry, absolute, black and white. Political correctness, like feminism, is cancer. Because, of course, there's something to be said for treating people equally, all right? When it comes to your speech, when it comes to your attitudes. But unless you can be demonstrated to be tangibly hurting a person, then you should not have any legal consequences for what you say. Because there are very tangible consequences for being charged with thought crime. All right? And it's the same way that feminism is 100% cancer 100% of the time. It's like, oh, darn, you're talking about feminazism. As if any feminist self-identifies as a feminazi. Listen to me. The dictionary defense doesn't work because the dictionary definition of feminism is in fact the definition of egalitarianism. Feminism is a socio-political ideology with doctrine and dogma and lexicon and rules and thought crime, okay? And that is 100% bad 100% of the time. And any feminist who's innocent of this is just an egalitarian with a fetish for the word feminism, okay? There is absolutely no way that political correctness is defensible because the inevitable result of it is, sorry to sound like a libertarian, inevitably people with no consequences, with no risk at all, getting to wield the state as a weapon where there are consequences regardless of conviction or absolution of the fucking suspect. So this inevitably happens. And this is always what feminists use social media and public opinion to do. You think they won't use the state to ruin people when they already so try to do that in the court of public opinion? Don't be fucking ridiculous. There is no defense of political correctness, you faggot. End of story. Thanks for watching.